to Newark to see their fleet of aircraft, but more especially the Vulcan that they've got there. It's the first time I will have been to the museum at Newark. Looking forward to seeing one of the old ladies there.
Hello, my name is Michael. I'm a retired RAF engineer. I started my career in 1966 as a propulsion fitter at RAF Vulcan. From there, I was posted to RAF Scampton, where I served in the Mechanical Engineering Aircraft Squadron, servicing the Vulcan aircraft on that station. This aircraft was one of the 44 Squadron fleet, based when I was crew chief with them at Waddington. Having gone to technical college in the RAF, I was based then at Scampton in a section called MEAS, which was a Mechanical Engineering Squadron. And we did all the in-depth repairs and servicing on the aircraft. My first years serving in the Mechanical Engineering Aircraft Squadron was late 66, early 67 for 2 years. From there I went out to Bahrain on search and rescue, and then the second time was in the late 70s, and that was at RAF Waddington on 44 Rhodesia Squadron, and that was the time I was a crew chief, and I served looking after one aircraft most of the time, which was XM 599 on that squadron. This big door is the entrance. The badge that is on that door is the 44 badge, which was a squadron I served with as a crew chief. And this door, when it drops down, on top of it is a ladder which has an extension on it that you climb into the cockpit and out of the cockpit. In the case of an emergency when you're flying, one of my roles was to open this door from inside. The ladder would drop out, and then the door became a chute. So you then slid down the door with your parachute on your back, straight and under the aeroplane. One of the silly things that happened out on the run-up pan, one of my jobs was to do an intake check before we started to make sure there was no nuts and bolts left or tools left in there. And I'd gone down number 3 engine, and my sergeant Con was standing underneath number 4 engine with what's called a Peloost, which was an air starting system that we used to start the aircraft engines. The sad thing is that Peloost, when it starts, sounds very like an engine starting. Because on the Vulcan the two engines use a common intake, there was a minor panic went through my head, because I thought, if he starts number 4 and I'm in number 3, I'm going to end up going down number 4 as the air sucks round. So I threw my torch out of the intake and I ran out, because being short, I was able to sort of crouch and then run. And I stepped onto the platform that I used to climb in, jumped off that in one stride to the ground, and did about 3 or 4 steps and then fell over because I was running far too fast. Everybody else was looking at Michael laid flat down and laughing, but they weren't laughing when he got up and was remonstrating that really they ought to have told me they were going to start the Palouse. But other than that, it was an amusement afterwards that we all laughed about. The logo's on the tail fin there. You've got the RAF, in this case red and blue, in effect to mark it as a UK aeroplane. The 44 in the white logo is the squadron. That's our squadron badge. And the one above it is the Lincoln City badge, to define that she was either a Scampton aeroplane or a Waddington aeroplane, because the 2 bases were north and south basically of Lincoln. And obviously the XM594 is her bespoke number, a bit like the car registration number that you have. The little stick stuck out at the bottom at an angle, that was there to warn the pilot that he got a too severe angle as he was coming into land, because the aircraft actually uses aerodynamic braking when it lands. That stick would, as it was pressed up, would put 2 lights on in the cockpit. One light and then an oops light, to say he got really too much on the back. When the Vulcan really started to come into its own was with the issues with Russia. At the time she was a long-range bomber with 1,000-pound bombs in the bomb bay, and they're the green ones that you can see over there. But to meet the additional worries or requirements, they changed the bomb bay section and put in 2 steel tanks like this one here, front and rear. And then instead of bombs, they had what was called a blue steel missile, and that's the missile over there, the blue steel, but it's all white. Never mind. And that carried a nuclear weapon and could be launched from the aircraft while in flight, and just let it go, and it had got a considerable range, so we didn't have to go over too much of Russia to release it.
Firstly, I was a pilot on these for about 20 years.
Okay.
So I got to know it quite well, so we got to know each other one way or the other. And so we had a crew of 5.
We both had memories, enjoyments, frustrations that we'd overcome with an aircraft that those that flew in it had great respect for, and enjoyed taking it round the world, and showing people that really it wasn't just a bomber, it was a lot more.
You were at Waddington?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Good Steel until 69, 70.
So What was the feeling like of being back in the Vulcan?
What was it like? I'll sit in my seat. It was going back into your favourite room, to a place that had lots of loving, interesting, exciting memories, and joys that took us around the world. As a crew chief, if there was two, which there was on occasions, I would sit behind the co-pilot, and I'd be side on to the direction of flight. My first flight, my senior chief that was training me omitted to say that when the engines were at 80% and then went to 100% in roughly 1 second, the G-force was quite strong. And without knowing this, I was sat in my seat, and as the aircraft accelerated forwards, I accelerated backwards and rolled over, much to the amusement of everybody else. But I only did it the once, because after that I learned to put my arm around a stanchion that held me in place. One of those things that you learn by mistakes. That space down here is where the bomb aimer would lay if they were doing what's called a free-fall bomb run. So if you like, it's going back to World War II. If all the electronics and what have you had failed, then you get down there and you look where you are and say, right, about now, click. Most of the time I use that as a storage for me, air publications, the engineering books. So if anything went wrong, I could go decide what the aircraft's Bible was going to tell me. Each of us had a job to do, obviously pilots, navigator and so on, and I fulfilled a different role, managing other parts of the aircraft as we were flying, and helping, providing an extra pair of eyes when we were fighting against fighters, so that whichever of the three of us up there spotted the fighter first, you let everybody else know where it was. And where you got mechanical issues, then the crew would rely on me to give best advice as to how we could manage the aircraft and fly it back home again.
So how would you sum up the day in one word?
The day in one word, wonderful. Wonderful. to meet a fellow Vulcan person, pilot, and to both of us step back into our time as aircrew in the Vulcan, the love, the joys, the sorties, all sorts of things came racing back into both minds, and we were able to show each other our love for the aircraft and the time we'd had with it.